So, hey guys, I just wanted to share with you a profound insight that I had yesterday while I was talking with my dad, and it's about identity. It's about the importance of identity. And the way we came to this, conclusion, and the way I came to this insight was in a conversation that we had about the new pope and how the Roman Catholic religion is a white man's religion, but not a black man's religion. And that we as Africans, we lost our identity as a people. And which is partly true because Chinese people and the Japanese have Buddhism, the Indians have Hinduism, and the white man's have Catholicism. But we as black people lost our own identity in terms of our own religion because of colonialism and how Catholicism was imposed onto us. And that has brought us to our downfall because we look upon and we shun upon our traditional ways of praising God. But this video is not about that. It's about something he said, a phrase that he said that, like, once you know your identity, you can never ever be swayed by anything. The wind cannot take you anywhere once you know your identity. And hold on, it's car coming. And that really made sense to me because I feel at the age of 19, I know who I am. I feel like at this point in my life, and through the shit that I went through, I know who I am. I cannot be swayed by silly things like when like my other friends are drinking. I don't drink because I know that I do not drink. I hate the taste of alcohol. It tastes like shit. And I know that in any environment, I would not drink. Maybe I'll take a sip, one or two, but then in most situations, I don't drink. And for many people, this sounds like something that's impossible. Like, for many people, they don't know who they truly are, they don't have their identities solid within them. And for people who feel like that, for people who are not at the stage of where I am in life, where they are sure in themselves and they know themselves and they know what they want, like, here's a question that you have to ask yourself. What would my future ideal self would do? What would my future self that I want to become do? What would he do in this type of situation? How would he think in this type of situation? How would he, process the situation? Just putting yourself in the future, just putting your future self in the now so that you can act in his way. Because once you ask yourself that question and you start to act in accordance to your future self, where you're put in a situation where, like, you're forced to drink, you're forced to take drugs, you'd ask yourself the question, would my future self actually do this? Would he, take the alcohol? Would he get drunk? Would he do this thing? You most likely answer, if that's aligned to your goals, with whatever it may be. Maybe you want to be the most drunk person on earth, or maybe you want to be sober for the next 5 years. You act within your future self. You would act in accordance to your goals. And so, if you're a person who's not sure in their identity, if you're a person who's still figuring themselves out, but they know who they want to become, just a question of asking yourself, what would my future self do? And then that's how you start to create that identity that you want. That's how you become solid in yourself and yourself, your values, right? And then once you have that identity logged in, and for you to actually, make this solid is by actually having evidence of you doing that thing that you say you're going to do, that your future self would be proud of. Like I've said, I do not drink. Like, drinking is not my thing. I hate drinking, right? But the way I came to that is because I value my health. My future self would value his health. And so I do the things that my future self would do. He works out, he runs, he watches his diet, he tries to eat more protein, he tries to cut out the carbs, he doesn't like sugar, he doesn't really like eating sugars, processed sugars, right? I just do the things my future self would do. And so by me doing that, I'm also solidifying the identity by having evidence of what I want to become, and that's me being sure in my identity. So for a person who wants to, like, solidify the identity, is one, just doing the actions that your future self would do, just asking yourself, would my future self do this? And it's also by having the evidence of you doing that thing that your future self would do, and that's how one becomes solidified in their identity. And that's the insight that I wanted to share with you as I walk back home. And it's getting really fucking cold. It's winter now. And being a black guy who lives in Zimbabwe in the southern hemisphere, I'm not used to the cold. So let me walk home quickly. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video, leave a comment. And yeah, goodbye, guys. And hey, look, shit, the moon.